New rules for students taking classes abroad starting next year.
Insomnia Cookies and Dunkin' Donuts may have some new competition on Marshall Street.
The United Kingdom prepares for the vote on Scotland's independence.
And wildfires continue to threaten thousands in California. Citrus TV News starts right now.
Hello and welcome to Citrus TV News Live at 6. It's September 17th. I'm Max Darrow.
And I'm Allie Bauman. Dozens of students took the quad today. They're asking for SU to bring back its advocacy center. That's tonight's top story.
This past summer, Syracuse University shut down the Advocacy Center. The school faced immediate and harsh criticism for the decision. Well, all of the emotion culminated today in a rally on the quad.
Dozens of students, teachers, and supporters met on the steps of Hendricks Chapel at noon to call for the Advocacy Center to be reopened. Citrus TV's Ben Miller was with the protesters today and heard their concerns.
Students outraged at the closing of the Advocacy Center made their voices heard today on campus. That's the case for Tiffany Lyons, a junior who disagrees with the decision to close the center. The Advocacy Center was closed last May, shortly after the end of the academic year. Students have not been happy with the lack of information about the decisions made by school officials. Concerns about the culture of sexual and relationship violence were on the forefront today. About 100 students attended the rally that began on the steps of Hendricks Chapel. A group of students and supporters spoke and drummed up support for their cause with chants and cheers. Then the protesters marched to the Chancellor's office in Kraus-Heinz Hall to deliver a formal list of their complaints. At the end of the day, students like Josh and Torcio just want more transparency and change. Ben Miller, Citrus TV News.
A group of students delivered formal complaints directly to Chancellor Suvarud's office at the end of the march. They're asking for, quote, the prompt creation of a standalone center for advocacy and education on campus.
Students are also urging the university to gather their input before making any more decisions that impact the student body. And now let's take a look. With Citrus TV's Brooke Glatz at today's weather. Brooke?
Thanks, Max and Allie. As we can see from the quad cam, we had a beautiful day as we're experiencing the seasonal change into fall. Partly cloudy skies all day, but we did get to see the sun for quite a bit. The high today was 67 degrees with a low at 50 degrees. It currently feels a little colder now with winds at about 7 miles per hour coming from the northwest. Zero chance of rain today, but because of the showers yesterday, it was still a little humid out today. For your full weather forecast and a look at what you can expect this weekend, stay tuned to Citrus TV News Live at 6. Max and Allie, back to you.
The Fast Forward Syracuse strategic plan has formed a steering committee to get the input from Syracuse University community. Just yesterday, the committee sent an email to the entire Syracuse campus asking for suggestions and feedback.
The email read in the part, quote, the strategic plan will be prioritizing the university as a whole rather than focusing on the specific schools, colleges, departments, and support groups. And it will serve as a vehicle by which the university ultimately can be greater than the sum of its parts, end quote. 2 open forums will be held by the committee, the first of which will be held on Tuesday, September 30th from 4 to 5:30 p.m. in Maxwell Auditorium. Well, you might have seen the new touches to Byrd Library as construction continues, but the library's Assistant Dean for Advancement says it needs more funding in order to make Byrd a competitive, research-driven library.
Bird is currently undergoing renovations paid for by a $150,000 donation from a current student's family. However, a budget committee says the library needs another $7 million to be among the top 50 research libraries in the country. This is the first time Bird has had a facelift since 1972. And come next fall, Syracuse University will no longer accept transfer credits from study abroad locations that aren't an SU Study Abroad or SU World Center program. If students wish to use transfer credits, they can petition, but will have to do so at least 9 to 12 months before the start date.
The first deadline for petition submissions is November 1st for programs in the fall semester of 2015. For a full list of accepted study abroad locations, visit the SU Abroad website at suabroad.syr.edu. Well, students have a new option for breakfast on Marshall Street this year thanks to a bakery that has opened up shop. But Hot Cross Buns isn't your typical bakery. Citrus TV's Ashley Sue has more on what this bakery has to offer.
At 8 a.m. sharp, Gloria Taylor is ready for business. She's changed the daily special, restocked trays, and made sure the bakery is spick and span. There's just one thing missing: the actual baking. That's because Hot Cross Buns imports its goods from several historic local bakeries: Geddes, Harrison, Lincourt, all together in one central location.
Several people say, oh my God, I remember my mother used to take me to this bakery, you know, we used to get whoopie pies all the time, and it kind of brings back their childhood a little bit.
But for students who aren't from around Syracuse, Taylor hopes that Hot Cross Buns will get them acquainted with the local bakeries, treasures forgotten amongst big-name brands.
I usually just go to the Panera, and that's pretty much the only bakery I knew.
Panera bread occasionally. Other than that, no, not really.
Hot Cross Buns has been open since early summer, but now that students are back on campus, Taylor is hoping many younger, new faces show up at the door.
Of course, they're always looking for something that isn't so sweet. And I said, well, honey, you gotta please yourself, and once in a while, you gotta have that goodie.
Although many still haven't heard of the bakery tucked away between Dunkin' Donuts and Fagan's on South Krause Avenue, everyone's willing to give it a try.
I've tried every new place so far that I know of on Marshall Street. I'm
Okay.
gonna try, now that I know that it's there, I'm gonna go try that one next.
Maybe then the students will build new memories at a place locals know for its nostalgia. Ashley Sue, Citrus TV News.
Coming up on Citrus TV News, will tomorrow bring an A or a nay for Scottish independence?
And how will the U.S. fight the deadliest Ebola outbreak in history? Stay tuned after the break.
You know what?
What?
Since I got adopted, I've learned a lot about these humans.
I know. I mean, check out these two. It's Flirt City over here.
Yeah, I noticed that. It looks like my human is definitely into your human.
Oh, look! I think she's getting his number.
Nice.
Your human's got some sweet moves.
Takes after his dog. Oh, look, they're doing that thing where they put their arms around each other.
She kicked up a leg. It's like in the movies.
That's awesome. Looks like we're going to be hanging out a little bit more.
Learning how to kick flip 6 stairs takes determination. So we're getting into college. I've got what it takes. So do you.
You didn't give up on sex. Don't give up on birth control either. There are more methods than you think. Find yours at bedsider.org. You didn't give up on sex. Don't give up on birth control either. There are more methods than you think. Find yours at bedsider.org.
A Rochester store owner is being accused by the federal government of funding the Islamic terrorist group ISIS. Mufid Elfji was arrested in May of this year, but federal officials did not outline the case against him until this week. Elfji has been under federal investigation since early 2013 for allegedly trying to send jihadists to Syria to fight with the terrorist group and plotting to kill U.S. troops who had served in Iraq. Elfji will appear in court tomorrow morning and will be entering a plea of not guilty. The manhunt continues for the shooter who gunned down Pennsylvania police troopers last week. Eric Matthew Frine is described as a survivalist with an extensive shooting background and a grudge against law enforcement. More than 200 police officers have been searching in eastern Pennsylvania since Friday, causing schools to be shut down in the area. Frine's father said he was an Eagle Scout and a member of his high school shooting club and never misses a shot. More than 100 homes and a church were destroyed by a wildfire in Weed, California. The small lumber town by the Oregon border was caught off guard by the fire, causing 1,500 people to immediately flee the area. The area's strong winds have made the fire unpredictable and hard for firefighters to contain. California's 3-year drought is fueling the multiple wildfires that have affected the state over the past few weeks.
Will Scotland choose to leave the United Kingdom? If Scotland does break its nearly 300-year union with Britain, they'll be the 31st country formed since World War II. British Prime Minister David Cameron has been calling for the country to consider the impact of the decision, saying, quote, "It will not be a trial separation." Current polling shows the vote will be a close call, despite Scotland receiving advice from various world leaders to not secede. The big vote takes place tomorrow, and the whole world is watching. And a historic day for Ukraine and the European Union after the Ukrainian parliament finally passed a deal to create closer ties with the European Union. This agreement connects Ukraine closer with the West and distances the country from Russia. It also includes free trade provisions with the EU. Ukraine's prime minister spoke before the vote, saying in part, quote, "Ukraine is Europe." That's what the Ukrainian people said and did. This is the same deal that failed to pass last year and ended up sparking the current crisis in eastern Ukraine. And the U.S. is ready to increase its support in the fight against the deadliest Ebola outbreak in history. The virus has killed nearly 2,400 people in West Africa, and thousands more are infected. President Obama has ordered troops, medical supplies, and additional healthcare workers to be sent to West Africa. Up to 3,000 troops are going to be sent, and additional portable hospitals will be built to help contain the spread of Ebola.
We know that if we take the proper steps, we can save lives. But we have to act fast. We can't dawdle on this one. We have to move with force and make sure that we are catching this as best we can, given that it has already broken out in ways that we had not seen before.
It's been another gorgeous day in Syracuse. CitrusTV's Brooke Glatz is here to tell us if this warm weather is going to stay for the week. Brooke?
Thanks, Allie. It's officially starting to feel like fall here in Syracuse, reminding us all that our warm summer days are behind us. The high this afternoon was 67 degrees. Currently, it's about 65 with wind gusts between 5 and 10 miles per hour. Humidity was at the lower end of the spectrum today with no chance of rain, so we did see the sun for a bit there, but it was still a significant amount of cloud coverage. Moving into tonight, again, partly cloudy skies, and the temperature will drop to a brisk 50 degrees with light wind. There's a 10% chance of rain, so not so much to worry about there, but the humidity will rise to almost 75%. Rolling into tomorrow morning, you can expect to see partly cloudy skies again with a high at 60 degrees in the afternoon. There are a very low chance of rain, but the winds are coming from the northwest at 11 miles per hour, so you may need a jacket. Looking at the current temperatures across the northeast, we can see that Syracuse is actually one of the warmest cities in our region and hitting almost 70, and the other areas around us like Scranton and Burlington and Buffalo are in the upper 60s today. It isn't until you get closer down to the city that we're seeing those temperatures in the perfect 75-degree range. Looking at the dew points for the day, we can see that the entire northeast region is in that perfect, comfortable range where it's not too dry and not too humid. As I said earlier, we are in the clear for rain tonight. There's a bit of light precipitation happening slightly northwest of Syracuse towards Burlington, Vermont, but nothing we have to be worried about tonight. Looking ahead at our 5-day forecast, we will see that it'll be partly cloudy for the next few days with highs in the 60s and lows reaching all the way down to 39 on Thursday night. Temperatures will get back up into the 70s for the weekend, but watch out if you have any tailgating plans for the game on Saturday because there will be storms rolling in Saturday and Sunday. It'll be a little cold on Thursday night with the low getting all the way down to 39 degrees, so make sure that you guys are dressing for the weather for that.
So 39 degrees. It's September 17th. 39 degrees.
I know, you don't have to tell me twice. I'm from the South. I am not ready for the winter already. So it'll be interesting to see how the rest of the winter goes. I've heard it might be getting pretty cold this year. We might have another polar vortex coming our way.
This is only the start.
It is.
Thank you, Brooke. Coming up next, live better but save money. Why Walmart is in legal trouble over its prices.
And Sony might want to stick to PlayStations from now on. Why it's game over for their smartphone business.
Hi, my name's CJ. A few years ago, my father became seriously ill. I did what I could do before he passed, but it took its toll. I lost my job, my house. I'm getting back on my feet, but I don't know when there'll be food on the table. How'd I do, CJ?
We could be twins.
Well, cousins, maybe.
Play a role in ending hunger. Visit feedingamerica.org/hunger and find your
Cocina a la temperatura adecuada usando un termómetro para alimentos. Mantén tu familia a salvo. Visita foodsafety.gov/español.
20 years ago, the Americans with Disabilities Act guaranteed every person the right to live, work, and participate fully in the American experience. We've come a long way since then, and we are committed to making even more progress in the years ahead.
West Genesee students have been diagnosed with the enterovirus. Christopher Brown, the district superintendent, posted a letter online yesterday informing parents that the school will do everything possible to prevent the virus from spreading.
The rare respiratory illness has been affecting young children nationwide, primarily those with asthma. Doctors say the best way to prevent more cases is for everyone to wash their hands. A Georgetown University student has died from what school officials say is meningitis. Andrea Jamie, a junior at the nursing school, was transported to the hospital last week after running a 105-degree fever.
The university is giving increased attention to hygienic practices and is awaiting her official cause of death, the testing for which is underway. Sony is experiencing some tough news, a projection to lose more than $2 billion this year. And the company's smartphone is apparently the blame for the loss of revenue.
Analysts say Sony cannot compete with Apple and Samsung's extremely popular phones.
Joan Rivers' death may not be as straightforward as we thought. After her original scheduled procedure, a biopsy was performed without her prior consent by an uncertified doctor, which led to her cardiac arrest.
The doctor has also been accused of taking selfies while Rivers was under the anesthesia during the procedure. The clinic has refused to comment about the biopsy and the selfie.
If so, ethicist Dr. Arthur Kaplan says that's a...
Coming up on sports, SU men's soccer looks to bounce back after a tough loss to the #1 team in the country. Football has their sights on this weekend's matchup against Maryland, and baseball's postseason is taking shape. Sports on News after the break.
Lawrence Cohen.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds.
Hey, I'm Anderson Cooper. As a parent, you want to make sure that your child knows how to deal with bullying when they see it happening. And chances are they want to help, but they don't really know how. Teach them that the best thing to do is calmly walk away, find a teacher or other adult, and speak up. And do your part. Be that adult they can talk to and trust will listen. Join me to help stop bullying. Go to stopbullying.gov to find out more.
RBIs and 36 homers. Swings at the first pitch and fouls it deep back into the stands.
Enfría alimentos crudos y preparados lo antes posible. Mantén tu familia a salvo. Visita foodsafety.gov/español.
Packers, Viking, Packers, Viking, Viking.
Red state, blue state, vegan,
carnivore.
We come from different places.
Uptown,
downtown, night owl,
early bird.
We come to different conclusions.
Half empty,
half full.
But when we live united, we create real, lasting change in the building blocks of life. The education, income, and health of our communities, our families, united. Even the person next to us.
Live united.
Real change won't happen without you. So give, advocate, volunteer, live united. Sign up at liveunited.org.
Syracuse is known for its record-breaking crowds, 35,446 against Duke in the Carrier Dome last February. And last Saturday night, a record 2,442 packed into SU Soccer Stadium to see the Orange take on Notre Dame. SU fell to the Fighting Irish 1-0, but looked to rebound last night against their Central New York neighbors, Cornell. Here's the team warming up, getting ready for the matchup against the Big Red. Now in the 18th minute, Yuso passing in with a strike. His first goal of the year, the assist to Stefanos Stamoulokatos and Emil Ekblom, who would get into the scoring just a little bit later. SU up 1-0. And here I mentioned Ekblom, and he'll get into it on the turnover here. The pass from Chris Nanko, and Ekblom finishes. SU would go up 2-0 in the 21st minute. Now, late in the second half, a little weird moment here for Stefanos Stamoulokatos. Starts riding Cornell's Ralph Lee Price like a horse. Said, giddy up, cowboy on Cornell right here. And then finally in the 88th minute, Nick Perea here from the pass from Noah Reinhardt. Nick Perea finishes. SU wins 3-0. Auto and orange, two words that just go hand in hand. ESPN seems a little bored on the college basketball front without any games to cover, so today they released a list of the top 10 mascots in the nation. And wouldn't you know, lovable Otto cracked that list. And Otto isn't done there. He is competing in the Capital One Mascot Challenge. And this week, Otto takes on Sparty from Michigan State in a transportation challenge to see whose fans have the more decked out cars. So help out Otto people and go paint your cars orange and blue. Coming off a big 40-3 win over Central Michigan, Syracuse welcomes Maryland to the Dome on Saturday. The Terps are 2-1 on the young season and suffered a tough 3-point loss on a last-second field goal to West Virginia last Saturday. The two teams met last season in College Park, with the Orange coming out on top 20-3. Today, SU looked ahead to this next installment, but also reflected on their season so far.
They have great receivers, athletic receivers. Offensive line's good, running backs are good. So they're an overall good team. So it'll be a good matchup for us. I can't wait for Saturday to come by.
Just that past week, we was really focusing on, we were showing the people who we really are. Villanova, we got away from it. I got kicked out, and we didn't really get to run and do everything we wanted to do. So just going out there and executing the plays to the best of our abilities, that's what we had to do.
Only 2 days after announcing Adrian Peterson would play on Sunday against the Saints, the Vikings have put Peterson on the exempt permission list, keeping him away from the team indefinitely. Peterson was indicted last week on a felony child abuse charge in Montgomery County, Texas. September is winding down, which means the days get shorter, the leaves begin to fall, and playoff baseball is right around the corner. 2 teams punched their ticket for postseason play last night. The Orioles clinched AL East for the first time since 1977 by beating the Blue Jays 8-2. The win to seal the deal was the O's 9th in 10 games and gets them back to the playoffs for the second time in 3 years. You see the celebration there, a lot of confetti and even more beer and champagne on deck in the locker room for the team. Nothing but good times for Baltimore. But they aren't the only ones with a reason to celebrate. The Washington Nationals clinched the other Eastern Division, the NL East, with a 3-0 win over the Braves in Atlanta. The Braves have often had the Nats' number, taking 25 of 35 from Washington since 2012, but not last night, and the team from the nation's capital back in the playoffs after a disappointing campaign last year. Let's take a tour around the Champions League. Barcelona and Messi with a 1-0 victory over Apoel. Bayern Munich with the thriller in the 91st minute, beating Man City, also 1-0. Chelsea gets a 1-1 draw with Schalke, and Roma blows out Moscow 5-1.
Thank you for that. Now when Citrus TV News comes back, we'll take a final look at tomorrow's weather.
You didn't give up on sex. Don't give up on birth control either. There are more methods than you think. Find yours at bedsider.org. You didn't give up on sex. Don't give up on birth control either. There are more methods than you think. Find yours at bedsider.org.
In a small town of Elmira, New York, a boy was born into an all-American family. The odds of him achieving his dream in the fashion industry? 1 in 23 million. The odds of having a child diagnosed with autism? 1 in 88. I am Tommy Hilfiger, and my family is affected by autism. Learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs.
Now it's time for This Week in Bad Stats.
Bad stats?
Horrible stats. Here goes. 132.
That's how many batters struck out 4 times in one game last season.
Wow, very good. Here's a tough one, though. 3 and 4.
No idea.
That's how many kids witness bullying. 3 out of 4.
That's not a good stat.
No, it's not, but it can change. Kids want to help, but they don't know how. Visit stopbullying.gov and give them the tools they need to help prevent bullying.
There are plenty of safe ways kids can help at stopbullying.gov.
Now for your wake-up weather forecast with Citrus TV's Brooke Glatz.
Thanks, Max. Waking up tomorrow, we'll definitely want to break out the sweaters and puffy vests. Tomorrow morning on your walk to class, the high before noon will be a brisk 57 degrees. The partially sunny skies will help warm up the area to a high of about 61 degrees for the day, but will nightly show at 39 degrees. We can kiss the sundresses goodbye. Other than that, the temperatures being slightly lower than the past few weeks, tomorrow will be a beautiful day with the sun peeking through the clouds, a very low chance of rain and a nice fall breeze. And that's all for tomorrow's weather. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Brooke. Now, a man in Texas spent $1,000 at Chick-fil-A, but it's not what you think.
The man went through the drive-thru and gave the cashier 10 $100 bills to pay for the meals of everyone else waiting in line.
He said there was no motivation for this act of kindness. He just wanted to do something nice.
The gift paid for 88 different customers and lasted for almost an entire hour of drive-thru orders.
Well, that's all we have for you now. We'll be back tomorrow at 6.
Enjoy the rest of your evening, Syracuse.